The rain hit the glass walls of the space asylum like tiny hammers. Outside, stars blinked in the black sky above Earth's broken orbit. Inside, a girl sat alone in a white room. Her name was Lyra Voss. She was 16. Her hands were cold and her eyes were tired. For the last 6 years, she had lived in Solace Ward 9, a place where people were sent when others didn't want to deal with them. She wasn't dangerous. She wasn't violent. She was different. Lyra had something called neural hyperempathy. It meant she could feel what others felt, not just guess, but actually feel it like it was happening inside her. If someone near her was in pain, her body hurt. If someone was afraid, her heart would race too. The doctors didn't understand her. They gave her pills to make her feel less. They called her unstable. Some whispered that she was cursed. But the worst pain wasn't from the doctors. It came from her own father, Admiral Marcus Voss, hero of the Earth-Kali War, leader of the human fleet, a man of steel and order. And her father, he visited only once every year. The day was the day. Door opened, and he walked in, tall and sharp like a blade. His eyes scanned the room like it was a battlefield. Lyra stood up slowly. Her hands shook. Dad. He didn't hug her, didn't smile. I came to say goodbye, he said. Her heart sank. What do you mean? You said I'd come home when I got better? You're not getting better, Lyra. You're a danger to yourself and others. I can't let emotion rule my bloodline. You are broken. The words hit her like ice. Her legs felt weak. She wanted to scream, to beg, but no sound came out. I'm having your name removed from the family records, he added. From this day, you're no longer my daughter. Turned and walked away. Lyra fell to her knees. The door closed behind him. And just like that, she was alone again. That night, something strange happened. She sat in her room, eyes closed, trying to silence the storm of feelings inside her. Then suddenly, a sharp wave of fear. But it wasn't hers. It was nearby, not human, cold and alien. She opened her eyes. The wall shimmered. A small hovering probe slid through the wall like it wasn't solid at all. It looked like a spider. Made of silver, it scanned the room. Lyra didn't move. She should have been afraid, but she felt something else. Curiosity. Hunger. Intelligence. The alien probe didn't attack. It hovered in front of her, silent. She reached out, not with her hands, but with her mind. She focused on the emotions inside the machine. Cold logic, but also confusion, as if it couldn't understand her. She sent it a signal, not in words, but in emotion. I'm not afraid, not like the others. Let me in. The probe paused. Then it clicked, opened a port, and touched her hand. Pain surged through her body. Codes, lights, images, 1,000 alien thoughts passed through. Her mind in 1 second screamed, but she didn't let go. When she woke up, her room was dark. But the walls were no longer white. They were full of moving data. The probe was inside her now, connected to her nervous system. Somehow, she had hijacked it. Lyra stood up. Alarms without touch. Alarms were off. Security cameras turned. Away. She walked down the hallway, free for the first time in years. But this wasn't just escape. This was the beginning. She wasn't broken. She was becoming. Lyra sat alone in the cold cargo bay of a stolen transport ship. The stars outside the window blinked like forgotten memories. Her hands trembled as she looked at them. It didn't feel like hers anymore. Ever since she had touched the alien probe, something had changed inside her. She could feel more now. Not just emotions from people, but from machines too. Ships, signals, electricity. It was like her mind had grown new eyes. She had escaped the asylum, but she wasn't safe. The alien probe she had bonded with came from the Kali, the most feared alien empire in the galaxy. And now they were hunting her. But they weren't the only ones. Back on Earth's military network, Lyra's name had reappeared, flagged as a possible rogue AI host. To them, she wasn't a girl anymore. She was a threat, Even her own father had ordered the bounty: capture alive, or destroy if necessary. The words cut deeper than any wound. 3 days passed. She drifted into the rim systems, the edges of known space, full of wrecked ships and lost colonies. There she found something that changed everything: a broken, human-Kali hybrid war satellite. It's floating near a shattered moon. Its shell was cracked. Its systems flickered like dying stars. But when Lyra touched it, her mind lit up with memories. Not hers, but recordings. Inside, she saw data logs, voices, test files, her voice. As a child, they had used her brain scans, her neural patterns, to build warrays. Emotions had been studied, copied, twisted into cold logic engines. For battle, and it was her father who had done it. Admiral Voss had turned his daughter's pain into a weapon, and then erased her from the world. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but her face stayed calm. Her sadness began to burn. Not with weakness, but with purpose. She opened the satellite's core and took the broken data core into her hands. Then, with slow, steady breath, she connected it to her own nervous system. Pain rushed in like fire. Screams echoed in her head, memories of dead soldiers. Failed A's shattered minds. But Lyra held on. Her body shook, her nose bled, but she didn't stop. This time, she wasn't just feeling the pain. She was becoming the weapon they feared. When she woke up, she was different. Her skin glowed softly. Her eyes showed streams of data. She could now hear thoughts from nearby ships. She could taste emotion like flavors in the air. She was no longer just a girl. She was part machine, part mind. Something new. She looked at herself in the ship's mirror. For the first time in her life, she did not feel broken. She felt powerful. She returned to the Rim colonies. Their small human outposts were still under Kali control. She did not attack with weapons. She entered their systems through there, minds whispering confusion into the alien ranks. Her emotions leaked into their hive links, turning unity into chaos. The Kali began to retreat, confused, afraid. People started talking about her in secret. The ghost girl, the broken mind, the one who feels everything. But others whispered a different name, the Empath Queen. One day, while resting in a hidden asteroid port, a small ship landed near hers. The crew were outcasts, humans with scars, burns, cybernetic limbs, and haunted eyes. A Dodd man with a metal arm stepped forward. His name was Ashen. He didn't bow. He didn't stare. He simply said, "We've heard of you. We don't believe in kings or gods, but if you're fighting them, we'll follow you." Lyra looked at him for a long moment and nodded. She had no army, no nation, no home. But now, she had something better. A crew that chose her. The war had broken her. But now, she would break the war. The stars looked closer in the Rim. Lyra stood at the edge of the viewing deck on the small rebel ship called the Hollow Spark. It was old, dented and stitched together with spare parts, but it was alive in a way she could feel. The ship had pain, memory, and quiet pride. It had survived much. It's just like her. Ashen stood beside her, silent as always. His metal arm hissed softly when he moved. His face was rough, but his eyes were kind, always watching, always reading her emotions. "Even when she tried to hide them, you feel them, don't you?" he asked quietly. Lyra nodded. The stars, the machines, the fear inside everyone, it never stops. Ashen didn't speak for a moment. Then he said, "Maybe that's not a curse. Maybe that's your weapon." The hollow spark floated into a dead zone, a dark field between systems where no one dared to go. There was something waiting there, a Kali emotion hub, hidden beneath a cloud of dust and shattered rock. It was a giant alien tower, shaped like a twisted claw, built to control human minds through emotion. Anyone captured by the Kali was linked to it, turned into silent workers, forgetful slaves. Lyra stared at it through the glass. "Thousands of human minds are trapped in there," she whispered. No names, no memories, just silence. The crew around her looked uneasy. Some said they should run. That was suicide. But Lyra stepped forward. "No more running," she said. "We fight. Not with guns, with truth." They flew close. Too close. The collie sensors activated, detecting them. A red alert pulsed across the hollow spark. Drones came flying, silver and sharp, hungry to kill. Lyra closed her eyes. Her body lit up with soft light. Her heart slowed. She reached out with her mind, not to the drones, but to the hub itself. Inside. She felt pain. So much pain. Trapped souls. Human minds screaming in the dark. Forgotten children. Soldiers who had lost everything. Mothers who couldn't remember their own names. She didn't block the pain. She let it inside. And then she shared her pain back, her memories, her loneliness, her betrayal, her father's last words, her escape. The emotion hub shuddered. Lights blinked wildly. Collie drones stopped midair, confused. A strange sound filled the space. Not metal, not code. A cry. Lyra dropped to her knees. Blood came from her nose and ears, but she didn't stop. She pushed harder, and suddenly the silence in the hub broke. Voices returned. Weak at first, then louder. Thousands of minds woke up at once, confused, but free. "I remember my name. Where am I? Is this real?" Lyra smiled through the pain. "Yes," she whispered. "You're still human." The collie system collapsed. The drones crashed into each other. The hub cracked. And for the first time in years, human slaves escaped the tower. They didn't run. They looked at the hollow spark as it floated above them. They raised their hands in salute. To the girl who freed them, not with bullets, but with her broken heart. Back on the ship, the crew was silent. They had never seen anything like it. No one knew what to say. Finally, Ashen walked to Lyra, lay weak but awake in the medroom. "You broke their system," he said. Without touching a weapon, Lyra looked at him. Her voice was soft. "They called me broken, but maybe I'm just different." He nodded. "Different is good. Different is strong." Devalos. Bark flew on, deeper into the unknown. But now, across the stars, whispers grew louder. The empath queen is real. And she's coming. The hollow spark flew through the black silence of space. The ship was quiet, but inside its walls, tension grew. Everyone knew where they were going, Sector, not Thorda, and everyone knew what it meant. It was the heart of the Kali control. Network. The place where human minds were not only controlled, but changed. A giant tower of alien metal stood there, floating like a dagger in the sky. It was called the core node. From this place, the Kali sent out emotional signals that controlled entire planets. People became puppets, obeying without question. If Lyra could break that signal, the war would change forever. But if she failed, thousands more would lose their minds. Lyra sat alone in the dark chamber of the hollow spark. Her hands were shaking. Her head was full of voices, not real ones, but echoes, fears, doubts. What if I'm not strong enough? What if I lose myself? What if I become like them? Sean entered quietly. He sat beside her. His voice was calm. "You're not like them." Lyra didn't answer. He looked at her, then spoke again. "They control people by removing their feelings. You fight by holding on to yours." Lyra took a deep breath, then nodded. "I'm ready." The ship dropped out of lightspeed. Sector 12 Theta appeared, a dead space filled with floating debris and twisted machines. In the center stood the Kali core node, a tower of black steel, pulsing with red light. Drones surrounded it. Defenses were strong. It's too strong for normal ships. But Lyra didn't plan to fight with fire. She stepped into the neural chair. Wires connected to her spine and temples. Lights flashed. Body froze, but her mind flew. Inside the core node, it was like falling into a storm. She found herself in a strange world, a digital space built from thoughts, memories, and pain. It was dark and endless, filled with broken faces, lost names, and crying voices. Then something rose from the shadows, a shape made of code and fear. Looked like her father, Lyra, it said in a cold, flat voice. "You are not real. You are a mistake," she screamed. The storm pushed her back. Her skin burned. Her heart slowed. But then she remembered the voices she had saved, the people she had helped, the girl she once was, and she stood tall. "I may be broken," she said, "but I remember who I am." Her emotions exploded like a star. Grief, love, rage, hope. She poured them all into the core node. The system shook, warnings flashed. The Kali network screamed as emotions flooded their cold minds. They didn't know how to handle it. They had erased feelings long ago, but now they were drowning in them. On the hollow spark, alarms blared. The ship was under attack. Drones were closing in. Ashen took control, trying to keep them safe. Inside the neural link, Lyra's body started to break. Blood dripped from her nose. Her heartbeat dropped. But she didn't let go. She sent one final surge, a memory of her childhood. Of the day her father held her hand and promised she was special. It was real. It was pure. It was human. The core node cracked. The broadcast signals shattered like glass. All across the system, human minds woke up, freed from Kali control. The tower burned from inside and exploded in a silent fire. The drone stopped midair, then crashed. The hollow spark escaped just in time. Lyra opened her eyes slowly. Her body was weak. Her voice was a whisper. "Did it work?" Sean nodded, kneeling beside her. "You broke the signal." Outside, in every colony, on every planet, people cried tears of joy and confusion. Freedom had returned, and with it, a name began to rise higher than ever before. The empath. Queen had won the war of feelings, but a new enemy was already watching. Her father was coming. The stars seemed colder now. Lyra stood on the deck of the hollow spark, staring into the endless black. Her body still ached from the battle at the core node. Her mind was quieter now. No more screams, no more forced pain. But her heart felt heavy. She had freed thousands. She had broken the enemy's control. People were calling her a hero, a savior, but all she could think about was him, her father. A message arrived. It was old military code. Only one person still used it. Ashen played the signal on the screen. A tall figure appeared, half human, half machine. His face was cold. His eyes glowed with data. It was Admiral Marcus Voss, Lyra. The voice said, calm and sharp, "You've caused great damage. You think emotion is strength? But emotion weakens the species. You've become the very thing I warned you about." He paused. "I give you one chance. Surrender yourself. Come home, or I will erase every colony that supports you." The screen went black. Silence filled the room. Ashen stepped forward. "It's a trap. He's not the man you remember." Lyra's eyes were full of pain. "He was never the man I thought he was." She walked away, heart pounding. Her father, the one who had thrown her away, who had erased her name, who had used her mind to build war machines, was alive. But he was no longer human. He had merged with machine. To him, emotion was a disease, and Lyra, she was the infection. That night, Lyra sat alone in her room. She stared at a small photo, a picture from when she was 5, sitting on her father's shoulder, both smiling. She remembered the way he used to sing her to sleep, the way he used to say, "You're special, Lyra. You'll change the world." She didn't know which memory was real anymore. Was he ever truly her father, or just a soldier trying to build the perfect weapon? The next morning, the crew voted. Some wanted to run, some wanted to fight. All eyes turned to Lyra. She stood, calm but strong. "He wants to erase feelings, but feelings are what make us human. I won't run from him." Ashen nodded. We take the fight to him, their target, the orbit fortress of old Earth, now a massive war station ruled by Admiral Voss, the place where Earth's final fall began, where everything had ended. It must now begin again. As they approached the fortress, Lyra reached out with her mind. She could feel the cold inside. Machines humming, metal minds working, no emotion at all. It was like touching ice. But then she felt something strange. A faint pulse, signal, hidden deep inside. A human signal. There were still people inside. Alive, trapped, used as emotional batteries to feed the Admiral's system. Her heart burned with anger. She would not let them suffer as she once did. The hollow spark dodged enemy fire as it entered the defense zone. Drones attacked. Cannons roared. But Lyra stood at the center, connected to the ship's systems. Her presence calmed the crew. Her thoughts guided the path. She was no longer just a passenger. She was the heart of the ship. They reached the fortress, the battlehead, gun. But Lyra wasn't here for revenge. She was here to face the ghost of her past, to show her father, and the galaxy, what true strength looked like. Not steel, not silence, but emotion. The hollow spark shook as it broke through the last wall of defense. Red lights flashed. Explosions filled the space outside. But Lyra was calm. Her eyes were closed. Her hands rested on the glowing metal of the command chair. She was guiding the ship with her thoughts, feeling every wire, every signal, every breath of her crew. They trusted her. They followed her not because of fear, but because she felt everything they were too scared to face. Inside the orbit fortress, Admiral Voss stood in silence. He was no longer fully human. His face was metal on one side, smooth and pale on the other. His voice was now a machine's echo, but his mind, sharp, cold, cruel, was still his own. "She has arrived," he said to no one. Around him stood silent soldiers, empty shells, part machine, part slave. Their eyes glowed red. They had no emotions, no memories. Souls exactly how he wanted them. Lyra and her team landed deep inside the fortress. The halls were dark and cold. The walls hummed like they were alive. Shadows moved without sound. Ashen stayed close beside her, his weapon ready. But Lyra didn't carry a gun. Her power was different. As they walked deeper, they passed rows of chambers, glass tubes with people inside, frozen, eyes open, hearts still beating, minds locked away. "They're still alive," Lyra whispered. "He's using them to power his machine." Her hands clenched. He's turned human pain into fuel. They reached the core chamber, a wide round room filled with lights and cables, and there he stood. Admiral Voss. Father and daughter faced each other after all these years. He looked at her with cold eyes. "You've changed," he said. Lyra's voice was steady. "So have you. You let emotions control you. You are weak." "No," she said. "I feel everything. That's my strength." Voss stepped forward. "Emotions caused war. Pain. Collapse. I fixed that. I removed the sickness. I became what humanity needed." "You became a machine," she said softly. "You erased yourself." He pointed toward the glass chambers. "They are my gift to the future. Silent, obedient. Safe." Lyra took a step forward. "You called me broken, but I used my pain to set people free. That's what it means to be human." He raised his hand. A wave of machines charged toward her, metal beasts with sharp claws, red eyes, and no hearts. But Lyra closed her eyes and sent out a pulse, not of power, not of force, but of memory. A song her father once sang, a laugh she once shared with her mother, a moment when she believed in love. The machines paused. Some slowed. Others turned back. For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Even Voss looked unsure. "What are you doing?" he said. "I'm reminding them," Lyra whispered, "that they were once human. They can still choose." The fortress began to shake. The power systems failed. The walls flickered. All across the station, the glass chambers opened. The prisoners inside woke up, weak but breathing. Voss fell to one knee. His systems glitched. His voice broke. "You don't understand." Lyra walked up to him. "I understand more than you ever did." She didn't kill him. She did something worse. She cut him off from the network, from control. Every mind, every voice, every signal. Now he would live alone, in silence. The thing he feared most. Ashen touched her shoulder. "It's over, Lyra." looked at the stars outside. "No," she said softly. "It's just beginning." The orbit fortress no longer shined with cold red lights. Its weapons were silent. Its halls were empty. Machines no longer screamed. The prisoners were free. The dead were honored. And the one who ruled it all, Admiral Marcus Voss, now sat alone in darkness, cut off from every voice, including his own daughter's. He could no longer feel anything. Lyra stood at the edge of the station, looking down at the blue and white planet far below Earth, broken, scarred, but still alive. Tears touched her cheeks, but they weren't from pain. Not this time, they were from peace. Ashen walked beside her, quiet as always. He had seen many battles, lost many friends. But this war felt different. It wasn't one with guns or ships. It was won by a girl who once sat alone in a white room, crying because she felt too much. "Do you think it's really over?" he asked. Lyra looked up at the stars. Her voice was soft. "No, but something new has begun." Across the colonies, people were waking up. Families were reunited. Memories returned. Songs that had been forgotten were sung again. Children who had grown up in silence began to laugh, and through it all, they spoke her name, not as a queen, not as a god, but as a signal that reminded them what it meant to be human. In the months that followed, Lyra and her crew traveled from planet to planet, not to conquer, but to rebuild. She helped people heal, helped them feel again. She taught those who had lost their emotions how to dream once more. She didn't want power. She wanted freedom, the kind that came from within. On one distant colony, a child asked her, "Are you the girl who broke the sky?" Lyra smiled. "No, I just help people see it again." The child looked up. "My mom says you feel everything. Doesn't it hurt?" Lyra knelt down. "Yes, sometimes. But feeling pain also means you can feel love. That's what makes us human." Years passed, a new generation was born. Children who had stronger senses, sharper minds, and deeper emotions. Scientists called it the empath drift, a quiet evolution. Started by one girl's connection to an alien machine, Lyra became a legend. Some said she was still out there, watching from the stars. Others believed she had faded into light, but in the heart of every free world, one message played softly on every frequency. They told me I was broken, but I was never broken. I was human. I chose to feel. Back in a quiet corner of the galaxy, in the hollow spark's old flight chamber, a single light still blinked. Lyra's voice, recorded for future generations. To be human is not to be perfect. It is to cry, to hope, to love, to fail, and to rise again. The galaxy doesn't need more machines. It needs hearts. It needs truth. It needs those who feel, so feel everything, even the pain, because that is where your power lives. With that, the Empath Queen's journey ended. Not with war, not with power, but with a whisper that echoed forever. I redefined what it means to be human.